So thank you, Dr. Vincent. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Dr. Vincent, I know Dr. Vincent for the past couple of years. I've been following his work. He's one of the pillars of the care movement and has been contributing in many ways to the growth of this field. He's the managing director and co-founder of Institute for Knowledge and Innovation Southeast Asia, also known as IKIACA. It's a center of excellence hosted by Bangkok University, Thailand. As a consultant, he has worked with a number of organizations across the world. He speaks extensively on KM in international conferences and is closely associated with Mike Awards. He is also an associate professor at the Bangkok University, where he teaches on a variety of business topics, including knowledge management, innovation management, creativity, and various research methods. He is the founder and program director of PhD in Knowledge and Innovation Management at Bangkok University. Previously, he has taught at the New York Institute of Technology and at the American University in Washington, D.C., as well as holding the position of chairman of the School of Management at NYIT campus in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Dr. Ribiere has published more than 80 journals, 80 publications on KM innovation and their applications. He's been working on this field for the past 20 years. Thank you, doctor, and it's nice to be with you, talking to you, and I hope I will be able to learn quite a lot from you today.
Thank you so much, Randhir, for the very nice introduction. So very much appreciated and very honored to be part of your Thought Leaders series. Thank you.
Welcome, doctor. How much do you think tools like Microsoft Teams, Slack, and all these things will be able to kind of substitute all this, the cooler or the pantry or the coffee talks and all these things? How much do you think will be?
Well, I mean, they are, usually when you have, when you have a meeting, it's planned, it's scheduled in advance. So we lose all this serendipity, which is really people running into each other just by chance and whatever. So, I mean, yes, we could create some systems that emulate such kind of environment where you expected between certain, let's say between 12 and 1 every day to access to a system, and you will see people that will join your room for a discussion or whatever. So we could emulate it, but it will, I mean, it will be different. It doesn't mean that it's not as good, but I've not seen currently, I mean, any system which leads to this, and it doesn't feel also natural for people to join such kind of session. So we need to find ways to make it more natural, to give the opportunity for people to isolate themselves at any time. I mean, there is a breakup room, so things like that in Zoom or other system, but if you are in a formal meeting, I mean, it will not be well seen if suddenly you decide to open a breakup room and you leave the room with another member and have a discussion on the side. So, yeah, so there are things that needs to be rethought, and there may be a lot of new concepts, and there may be a lot of new opportunities here to develop some such kind of concepts that again allows this social interaction to happen. And people, I mean, we saw it worldwide. People are suffering from this lack of social connection. I mean, a lot of people don't want to work 100% of the time at home. So I think after pandemic, there will be more this hybrid situation where people, yes, will spend maybe a few days at work, few days at home. And so this will help to recreate this balance. But I mean, personally, based on what I've heard and what I have seen, it's very rare that you have people who still want to work completely isolated and not interact with their peers or colleagues at all. And I think, I breed also in education, same thing. I mean, students don't also fully enjoy being 100% disconnected from their friends or from the teacher or whatever. So I think the future will be much more hybrid. And I think that's good too, because it helps to reinforce also the work-life balance, and people also enjoy spending more time with their family, with their kids, and not spending so much time in traffic and so on. So I think it helps also to bring a better lifestyle and balance and spending more time at home. It doesn't mean that you spend your time just with your family, but I mean, they are more accessible to you, and it's not you come back late at home and you don't get chance to see them. Yeah. So I think it has. I think it will help to create a work environment which are more human centered, if you want, or yeah. So I think it might have some positive effect on this side too.
Content management culture where focus is only on ensuring that you have all the repositories built, but not around how do we ensure that the knowledge flows, it is not built. What are your views on that, on the whole idea of this content management oriented stuff?
Yeah, well, a lot of organization have gave up on KM, on knowledge management, or knowledge management got a bad reputation on the eyes of a lot of organizations, because that's originally what they thought will be the solution. So they thought that by codifying everything that everyone knows, then suddenly it will make it available to others and they will be able to reapply it and reuse it. So in some context, it works quite well. So if you take, for instance, consulting companies, I mean, they send a consultant to solve a challenge from their clients. Then the consultant more or less captures the lessons learned or the best practices or the solutions that they have applied, make it available to all other consultants. And when another consultant faces similar problem with another client, they can reuse it. So in this context, roughly, I mean, it could work very well. So that's a reuse of knowledge. Now, ideally, it works quite well. Now, in practice, the problem are that, number one, people don't like to capture or to spend the time to write down what they have done or what they have learned, and this is for many reasons. I mean, sometimes they don't know how to do it, so they don't know how to structure it in a way that it could be reusable for others. Sometimes they see it as an I mean, something they have to do on top of their work, and they don't consider it as they do it, but they will do it very fast and not in a very reusable way. And sometimes they don't want to do it also because they believe that their own experience, that their know-how, and that knowledge is power. So if I share it, and later on, people will be as good as myself and as them, and they won't do it. And so these are some example of barriers that happen. But I think the most problematic part is that very often it's captured in a way that might not be directly reusable by others in a different context, in a different form. So this lack of possibility to reuse knowledge from different view also reduce their value. So on the opposite, there is, as you said, there is what we call the socialization part, which says that instead of just having a document-centered approach, let's have an approach which is more about connecting people with each other so they can share or transfer some of their tacit knowledge, or we can easily identify who knows what in the organization, and people can connect and have a discussion and so on. So that's another aspect of KM, which is about what we say personalization, connecting people with each other, so that knowledge can be transferred. So organization needs to have a balance of both. I don't think it's good strategy to be 100% document centered or 100% socialization centered. They need to find a right balance, but they need to put emphasis on both aspects, because just relying on documents, it's very unlikely to succeed. And unfortunately, very often when you ask people, I mean, when you have a problem, a challenge, where do you find the solutions? So, or they will tell you, yes, I talk to my colleagues, and that's the first thing they will do. So they will not go through the repository. Or second thing, they will go on Google and try to find the solution on Google. And then potentially, if they don't find anything, then they might go into their organizational repository and potentially look for a solution. But it should be the first step, and that's unfortunately not rarely the first step. So it shows that, yes, there are still some challenges in doing so. We know anyway that we cannot capture everything that an organization knows, so we can just capture a little bit of it. So the value is really in trying to capture what we call critical knowledge. So the knowledge which has really value to the organization and which is potentially at risk. So at risk of being lost, for instance, if you have one expert which has this particular knowledge and this expert leave, then I mean, we know we're going to lose this knowledge, and this might lead to business discontinuity or to a lot of problems. So how do you identify this critical knowledge, and how do you transfer it or capture it to some extent? So if something happens, or if this person leaves the organization, then not everything is lost. So yes, there are a lot of different components that needs to be taken in place, but for sure, relying only on a content management system or a knowledge repository system or knowledge asset system, whatever you say, might not be the best solution. There is value in documenting lessons learned, good practices, and all of these things, but it should not be the only single focus for knowledge management activities. And just to add up, I mean, a lot of people, you say, are you doing knowledge management? Is, oh, yes, we are doing it. We have SharePoint. So, I mean, when you hear such kind of answers, so you realize that, again, the tool is not going to, I mean, you might have the best IT platform in the world to share knowledge. If people don't share or don't reuse this knowledge, this is going nowhere. And so too much reliance on technology or thinking that technology is a solution is so I like this quote. I forgot who said that, but says KM is something you do, not something you buy. So showing that I mean, again, buying the best IT system or whatever will not solve your KM challenges. I mean, IT or computer systems are needed. They are definitely needed. They are the enabler for knowledge management, and we could not manage knowledge without technology these days. But they should not be the, I mean, at the core of the effort. Yeah. Yeah. So the human side, I will say, if I had to give a spread, I would say human side maybe a 60%, because these are the most challenging part. Get people to create a culture and of knowledge sharing. Then I will put 30% maybe on processes, changing also the processes to enable them, and maybe 10% on the IT, because the technology is not, to me, is not really a challenge by itself. I mean, we have a lot of tools that we can use. I mean, for sure, we can come up with new tools, but we have a lot of tools that helps to enable this sharing of knowledge and so on. But the efforts or the challenges are much more on the people side. Yes.
Recently, we've seen huge growth in technology, machine learning related, artificial intelligence related, and we are hearing that KM is going to benefit quite a lot from these emerging technologies. What is your view on this part?
Great. So yeah, so if we remember, KM started with a technology focus, right? So the first early age of knowledge management, where you had a lot of IT vendors who relabel their KM system, their information system, knowledge management system. So we started with technology as a main driver, and now, and we realized later on that, yeah, I mean, it should be more people-centered, more socially centered, and so on. And now, so nowadays we have reached a stage where there are lots, I mean, some technologies have matured enough, like artificial intelligence, for instance, which has been around for, yeah, I would say 40 or 50 years, but have reached some level of maturity where they can be embedded into a lot of, of the task, of the process that we regularly use. So, I mean, all of these new technologies, I mean, fit into the umbrella of what we define as digital transformation. So a lot of organizations nowadays are going through this digital transformation journey. So they are rethinking not only their business model, but also their value proposition. I mean, their processes and so on. And so they also look at how this intelligent or smart technology can help them to maybe automate some of these processes, but also to help them to better help them to improve decision making at all kind of levels. So I really believe that, again, this technology can help to better support decision making. And again, these machines, yes, so they can use big data, they can rely on historical data, which is where they can learn from it. I fully agree. But at the end of the day, that's a human being who will still make the final decision, and the human being have much more contextual understanding of the situation than the machine. The machines, I mean, they are very good at exploring a particular aspect of it, but they rarely have the overview of the problem. So I believe that, and this machine again rely heavily on good data, good information, good knowledge, and so everything that comes out of this machine needs to be evaluated, filtered, or curated, more or less, but still by human beings. So, so again, yes, knowledge is at the core of how these machines or this intelligent system are making decisions or proposing, offering solutions to the decision maker, and that's where I think KM can help. So AI is knowledge driven, and KM practitioner can help to support this. First of all, be able to make sure that these systems are fed with proper and valuable or high quality knowledge, but also that this system can learn from themselves. And I mean, learning is part also of the knowledge management process. So yeah, so I do believe that KM has a very important role to play into all these future smart system, intelligent systems, and also making sure that yeah, so meaningful output come out of this system, which is still not really the case. I mean, this system produce a lot of valuable insight, but yeah, maybe out of 100 things they produce, maybe only 1% is really actionable or things like this. So I'm sure that over time, this machine will, I mean, will provide more and more solutions that are directly actionable for decision makers.
Thank you, Doctor. That's much relevant, much required as an advice for KM practitioners to make KM more relevant. And with that, we come to an end of our session. And really, I really appreciate your time as well as the jewels that you shared with us. It's very, very useful. And I hope more and more folks will get to benefit from your thought process. And we wish you the best in your journey. Wish you and your institute the best, and making more and more inroads into the knowledge management field, as well as make it more relevant to the industry, as well as to academia and to the humanity as a whole. Thank you, Doctor.
Well, thank you very much, Randhir. It was a great pleasure to be part of your series. But and thank you also for organizing all these thought leaders interview. I think it's a good way also for you to share what people are thinking in this field, and see how people also perceive the future. So thank you also for your contribution for the field of KM. You're playing also a very important role in disseminating this knowledge from different experts and leaders worldwide. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Welcome, Doctor. Bye. Thank you.